Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating observation made back in June 2026 by a gardening writer named Ang. We're talking about a plant most of us walk right past every single day, but we probably never stop to appreciate the sheer human dedication it can actually demand. Yep, we're talking about the Bougainvillea and the beautifully patient, kind of hidden art of training it. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to picture your own neighborhood right now. Have you ever noticed just how messy outdoor Bougainvillea plants actually look? Seriously, think about the last one you drove or walked past. They're usually these massive, sprawling explosions of color, right? Just spilling over fences, climbing up brick walls, and bursting with all this uncontained, chaotic energy. Section 1. The Wild Bougainvillea, a naturally chaotic beauty. Now this wild, untamed state is our baseline here. Whether you're just cruising through the suburbs or checking out a local plant center, the standard way we experience these plants is inherently unruly. And you know what's funny? Even when we actively try to control them, the result is surprisingly similar. You could have a heavily managed Bougainvillea, maybe tied tightly to a trellis, or a completely unmanaged wild one just doing its own thing. But as Ang points out, actively managed or not, they both ultimately end up looking pretty messy outdoors. The plant just stubbornly insists on doing whatever it wants. To quote Ang directly on this whole phenomenon, they're characterized by branches growing in wildly different directions. Seriously, it's just branches shooting left, right, straight up, diving down, crisscrossing everywhere in this frantic rush for space and sunlight. It is literally a botanical free-for-all. But what happens when someone decides to step in and truly tame all that chaos? Section 2. An unexpected elegance, discovering an anomaly. Well, during a recent field trip to a nursery, Ang stumbled upon something that completely shattered expectations. It wasn't just some mildly trimmed bush, it was a perfectly, meticulously shaped tree. A master gardener had actively sculpted this notoriously chaotic plant with one specific goal: to encourage those brightly colored bracts to grow in a highly structured, deliberate way. The result? This entirely unexpected, breathtaking elegance pulled straight out of a naturally messy plant. It's almost like turning wild scribbles into perfect calligraphy. Section 3. Decades of patience. The hidden cost of beauty. Seeing a perfectly sculpted bougainvillea like that immediately raises a massive, fundamental question. Because, you can't just snap your fingers and magically turn a wildly shooting vine into a manicured tree. There's a hidden cost to this kind of structural perfection. So the crucial point is, the immediate question that came to Ang's mind, and probably yours right now, is, how long did it actually take the gardener to train it? Transforming a plant that desperately wants to grow in a million different directions into a singular, elegant form absolutely does not happen overnight. So how much patience are we really talking about here? Roughly 10 to 20 years. Let that sink in for a second. Up to 2 decades. That is a staggering amount of time required just to coax this plant into that specific tree form. Think about it. It means someone was out there actively pruning, shaping, guiding, and just waiting on this single plant season after season for a massive chunk of their own life. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer, mind-boggling scale of that commitment. Back in year 1, you're dealing with that explosive, uncontrollable wild growth we talked about at the very beginning. Flash forward to year 10, a whole decade later, and you are still right in the thick of it, shaping those branches, constantly forcing them against their messy nature. It isn't until year 20 that the true, final tree form is actually realized. We are talking about up to 20 solid years of consistent, quiet, unrelenting effort before you finally get that ultimate visual reward. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought to consider. Is 20 years of patience truly worth that unexpected elegance? When you see a messy, sprawling bougainvillea in your neighborhood tomorrow, I really want you to think about that perfectly structured tree. Think about the decades of unseen, quiet dedication it takes to finally tame nature's chaos. It really makes you stop and wonder about the profound, almost hidden relationship between time, unyielding patience, and cultivated beauty. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and remember, never stop observing the hidden stories right outside your door.